Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright people, fight week, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. As always, thank you to the Hit Company for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about this fight. We'll do a little breakdown of sorts, and I'll give my pick on this fight. So, this fight obviously is happening in Saudi Arabia. Originally, it was meant to take place, I think it was December the 18th, 2021. Tommy Fury pulled out. It was rescheduled for last year. Fury pulled out again. That one was a little bit more okay because he couldn't get into the States. Obviously, the whole El Chapahan situation, which is still ongoing. I don't think Tyson Fury I don't think a lot of fighters who are associated with El Chapahan can get into the States. So that was that. But now it's been rescheduled. It's happening this coming Sunday in Saudi Arabia. Of course, we're doing a live watch along for it. From what I'm hearing, 9:30 p.m. UK time, ring walk. Alright, so it's probably going to be on afternoon time over in the States, depending on what part of the States you're from. So let's just go through the tail of the tape and we'll talk about this fight. So Jake Paul, 26 years old, has a professional, and this is the thing, professional with, I believe it's the Los Angeles or the California State Athletic Commission. 6-0 with 4 knockouts. Made his pro debut against Ali Gibbs, fought Nathan Robinson, Ben Askren. These were all knockouts. Split decision win over Tyron Woodley. Then he knocked him out cold in the rematch. Fought Anderson Silva last year, and now he's fighting Tommy Fury. Jake Paul, 26 years old, 6'1", with a 76-inch reach. Now Tommy Fury actually turned pro a lot early. He turned pro at the end of 2018. Saying that, he's only 8-0 with 4 knockouts. Okay, his resume is pretty atrocious, it has to be said. I mean, you look at Jake Paul's resume and you see here, like, you know, Nate Robinson, Ben Askren, Woodley, former MMA guy, Anderson Silva. He was, 47, 48 years old at the time. But if you look at Tommy Fury's, I mean, it's not a who's who, it's a who's he. Because who are some of these? And just to put it in context, right? Tommy Fury has had 8 professional fights. 1, 2, 3. So, out of his 8 fights, 4 of them haven't even registered a pro win. They had a record of 0-1, 0-9, 0-11, 0-26, and 2. His other opponent, his pro debut opponent, had 102 losses. His third fight, he had 26 losses and 2 wins. In his last fight, he fought a guy who, and he didn't look great in that fight, that was on the undercard of Fury White, who had 10 losses, or had 10 wins and 1 loss. It's the only opponent, I believe, apart from Jordan Grant, who's had a winning record. Crazy. So in terms of opponents, I mean, who really has fought the better guys? Now Fury comes into this fight, he is the younger man. His reach here, interestingly, on BoxRec isn't listed, but he's 6 foot tall. Okay, so Jake Paul has a slight height advantage. I'm not too sure about the reach. I would imagine Tommy Fury may have the slightly longer arms. Certainly if you look at the training pics of them, Fury tends to... Fury is trained obviously by Tommy. He's trained by his dad. He's trained by his dad, John. And you can see he tries to incorporate his brother's movements in the way he's fighting. Certainly when you see him in training. When you see Tommy Fury in training, he looks... Look, he's not as talented as his brother, we know that. And he's not, got bags of talent to burn. But when you see him in training, he looks better in training than he does in the ring. When he's in training, it seems to me that Tommy Fury, he's able to just focus a little bit more on what he needs to do and how to look, etc. When he gets in the ring, I don't know if it's the pressure of the occasion, the fact that, obviously he's been on Love Island, so he's got a big following, so they're all tuning in for him. I don't know what it is, but he does not look as good in the ring when you see him on fighting. He makes a lot of mistakes in there. But when you see him in training, he tends to fight at range. He likes to snap the jab, and he does. He can, he can jab, definitely. But what I don't like is that if you see Tommy Fury, even in training, and this is something that John Fury needs to pick up on, he's a tendency to bring his punches right down low. So he brings them right down to the waist. So if you ever see him at the pads, he's in his stance, he's boxing, he'll throw a jab, he'll bring it right down low. I mean, that's a bad habit to get into even in training. And, that's just asking for trouble. You're not Floyd Mayweather. You can't get away with bringing your punches back down low like that. And even he couldn't really get away with that much. So that's a little habit I noticed in Fury, certainly in training. On fight night, he tends to not move his head much. Like when you see him actually in training, he's, a bit like Tyson. He's bobbing, he's moving, the head's off center line. When he's fighting in the ring, it's a bit different. He's a lot more stationary. He's always up on his toes, hence the reason why he doesn't tend to generate a lot of power. I don't think there's a great deal of punching power there with Tommy Fury anyway, even if he did plant his feet. I haven't seen anything to indicate that he's got a decent variety of punching power. If you look at Jake Paul, it's very different. Jake Paul, he tends to be really just knuckling down, looking to throw hard shots. He's doing that in the ring on fight night, and he's also doing that on training, which is one of the reasons as well why he's able. Well, it helps that a lot of these guys are pretty over the hill or aren't boxers, like Ben Askren and people like that. So, they've obviously taken shots in the octagon, but not in the squared circle. It is a bit different. And you see with Jake Paul when he's training for power. He's training to throw big, heavy swinging shots. I have had a look at some of Paul's fights. His footwork is not amazing. I would say Tommy Fury, you could argue, has the better footwork of the two. Jake Paul, from what I've seen, he's very flat-footed, which is not always a bad thing. It's good in a sense that you're always ready to throw hard shots. You're always basically getting ready. Look, if you look at Danny Garcia, is a good example of a flat-footed fighter. The good thing about it is you're always there to get hard shots off. So a good example would be when he punched with Amir Khan, because he's so flat-footed, there he is, power's automatic, left hook, see you later, Amir Khan. That was what happened. Jake Paul's a bit like that. People criticise Jake Paul. They say, well, he's not a real boxer, but he knows how to set the shots up. If we go back and we look at the knockout of Tyron Woodley, which is a really, really big knockout, and it was a really good knockout as well. How he set that shot up was very interesting. So I believe it was a 1-2 he threw. Tyron Woodley blocked it. And what he does is, and this is good, it takes experience to do this as well, which Jake Paul is gaining. He feints the jab and brings it a little bit down low. So what he did in that moment was Tyron Woodley was looking at Jake Paul, this was in the rematch, and he's anticipating the shot coming down to the body. Jake Paul, little overhand right, was big overhand right, not little one. Whack, right round the guard, out went Tyron Woodley. That's how he is able to set up shots. You can't tell me that someone, and I'm not saying, look, Jake Paul, if he wins this fight, is going to be ranked by the WBC. I think that's completely stupid. He's not going to fight for a world title. He's not going to win a world title. He's not that good. He's better than your average. Look, I've seen people in amateur gyms for years on end not look as polished as Jake Paul, but he's not a world level cruiserweight by no stretch of the imagination. But the fact he's able to read situations like that and set shots up like that, it's good. It shows that he actually knows what he's doing. He also isn't afraid in training to get in there and spar some of the best cruiserweights in the world. Like, he's been in there sparring Lawrence Okolie. By all accounts, he didn't humiliate himself. I don't know if Lawrence Okolie was really going full tilt at Jake Paul, but the fact that he's even able to go in there and do it in the first place says obviously that he takes this sport serious enough. If you look at Tommy Fury, it's actually the polar opposite. You should say that Tommy Fury, coming from a boxing family, should be the consummate professional. He's a light heavyweight who's never made light heavyweight in his life. He was meant to fight back, I think it was November, December, he was meant to fight. And what happened? Well, he missed weight. Fighters miss weight. Some of them might miscalculate the scales. They might weigh in at their scales in the hotel. It could be off by a pound, half a pound. They'll take their jocks off, or they'll take the 2 hours, hop in a steam room or skip, and there you go, it's done. Well, he didn't do that. He missed weight by something like 7 or 8 pounds, which implies that he never had any intention of making the weight to begin with. You see Tommy Fury, and again, I'm not knocking him, just speaking facts. You see someone who's more concerned with how he looks on Instagram and how much weight he's lifting, as opposed to how he's looking from a physical point of view in the ring, in terms of his sharpness, in terms of his ring IQ, in terms of his technical ability, how he's punching, etc. He seems to not really give a you-know-what about that. I've heard conflicting rumours. So I've heard a rumour that it was last year, I believe it was, or it might have been in the run-up to the actual first fight with Jake Paul that never happened, the first proposed date, I should say, that I heard that he was beaten in sparring, as in beaten up. He took a bit of a shellac and stayed on his feet, and John Fury kicked, I can't remember the fighter who it was, out of the gym. Alright, I also heard Hatman mention that he heard that it was actually that he was knocked out. Now, Tommy got knocked out, he got cleaned out in sparring, and that was the reason why. So, sparring stories, you hear a lot of rumours. I always kind of tend to say, whatever you kind of hear in sparring, if you're hearing 2 stories, it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably somewhere in the middle. But would I believe that Fury got battered in sparring? 100%. Would I believe that John Fury would kick him out of the gym? I mean, quite literally, John Fury would probably kick him out of the gym. Literally, in a literal sense. That's the kind of guy John Fury is. That wouldn't surprise me. So that's Tommy Fury. if you're going into this fight and you're Tommy Fury, what I would be saying, right, is J-A-B. Simple as that. J-A-B and move. Jake Paul is a flat-footed fighter. He looks to set up his power shots. He needs to be basically there ready to go with his power shots to hit you with them and hurt you with them. So if you can just go out there, stick a jab on it. I don't really know if Tommy Fury is the switch hitter that his brother Tyson is, because that would really confuse. Now, with switch hitting, look, I'm someone who I don't normally advise it, to be honest with you, but if you're dealing with a novice, which Jake Paul is, it can offset them a little bit. Now, with switch hitting, sometimes it can be effective. Demetrius Andre was very good when he was in his prime at deciding, okay, I'm switching it between this stance and this stance, but then deciding on which stance works best in the immediate moment. He did that very well against Jack Kulkai, where he was having a lot of trouble, I think, in the southpaw stance. When he switched to orthodox, it just kind of, he took over in that fight. What I don't like is when fighters just do it for the sake of it. You know, Kid Galahad type, where he's just switch it. It's just like, don't do that. You're going to get caught. You're going to get caught in the middle of it because you're going to have to reset every time you're doing it, and it gives the opponent a punching chance. But against someone like Jake Paul, you might get away with that. So Tommy Fury is maybe going to want to try and do that. Just use the jab. His body work isn't too bad. If you look at the knockout against Callum Aide, that was a body shot as far as I believe. So go and test the water with Jake Paul. Hit him in the body. See how he likes it. We've seen him rocked by Tyron Woodley in the past. So if you go and you put a sustained body attack on him, how is he going to react to that? You know, at the end of the day, Jake Paul has never really been in there with a fighter quite like Tommy Fury, in a sense that Tommy Fury is young. Yes, he is a boxer. He might not take it as serious as every other boxer in the world, but he is nevertheless still a boxer. He's a British Boxing Board of Control. He's licensed. He's had his 8 pro fights, albeit at a very, very, very low level. But nevertheless, he's still done it. So he's going to, and obviously he comes from a fighting family, so he's going to know, right, this is what I need to do. This is the game plan that John or whoever is going to set up. I wonder if Sugar Hill is going to intervene at all in this fight and say, this is the plan, this is what we're going to do. I think with Tommy Fury, it's going to be a case of jab and look to set up hooks and straight right hands to the body. I'd even say, like, just for the most part, it would be a case of 1-2, 1-2, right to the body. You ever see that? It's actually a good little shot, because what it's doing, especially if they're not looking for it, they could be tucking up trying to stop the jab. So you're 1-2, 1-2, and you sneak a little body shot in there just below the elbows. It's very good. It'll take the air out of Jake Paul's tires, basically. So I think that'll be a good idea for Tommy Fury. Keep on his bike, move around the ring, and see how Jake Paul goes. If he's having to chase the target down, if he's having to chase down a target with, you know, fast legs, because, you know, Anderson Silva, 48 years old, he's got to be as slow as molasses. So if I was Tommy Fury, that's the advice I'd be giving him, and that's what I'd be looking to do. If you're Jake Paul, what you're going to want to look to do is you're going to want to look to take center ring. And as the saying goes, I said it on Saturday night, you can jab with a jab, but you can't hook with a hooker. Not to say that Tommy Fury is a hooker necessarily, but you can jab with him. Use your jab. Look to set up offense with that jab. Look to switch the jab up the head and body, double and triple the jab up. Use your feints. Because when a lot of the opponents Tommy Fury's been fighting, would even know what a feint is? You know, he used feints, and he used even just moving the shoulder ever so slightly to great effect against Tyron Woodley when he set up the knockout. So if I was Jake Paul, I'd be saying, right, be calm, look to jab with him, see how that goes, look to sneak a couple of right hands, and also one thing as well is hook right hand. It's a very underrated punch. So what a lot of people would tend to do is they'd associate more a straight right hand with a left hook coming, because you're in better punching position to throw a left hook. If you throw a straight right down the pipe, you're already kind of ready with the left hook cock, and you'd often see a left hook lead. But if you actually lead with the left hook, what a lot of opponents will do is they'll look to that side because they want to block it, leaving their front exposed. You can slap a right hand down the pipe. I've seen a lot of fighters do it. Deontay Wilder actually done it a few times in his career to good effect. So that's a little punch I'd be saying for Jake Paul to just try. You can, at this level, it's quite low level, so you can try things. You know, you can try things. Ultimately, I think Jake Paul's going to need to want to try and set up the big right hand. He is the harder puncher of the two. At least he certainly trains to be the harder puncher of the two. And I think he's going to want to try and feint Tommy Fury as much as he can, because that can be mentally fatiguing as well when the opponent is feinting constantly. Because especially if you're not used to it, which I don't think Tommy Fury is, you're constantly seeing an opponent like feinting Usyk Joshua is a good example, where you're just like, what the hell is this guy doing, and when is he going to punch? So I think that's what Jake Paul needs to do. I would say Jake Paul probably would have the physical strength on Tommy Fury. So try and use that. If you can push Tommy Fury back again the ropes, hit him to the body, see how that feels, and see what happens. You know, at the end of the day, both guys, you would say, are at a similar level in their careers. They're not world beaters. They're not going to be world champions. They're probably around about the same level. You know, you could argue Jake Paul has fought the opponents who came to win more than Tommy Fury did. I think that's certainly, you could definitely make a case for that. So ultimately, I think that Jake Paul is going to want to just jab with Fury, look to set some right hands up, and obviously look to feint and use the feint to try and set up your own offense. You know, Canelo Alvarez kind of style, because that's what Canelo has done very, very often in his career. Look at the Amir Khan knockout. Look at the Chris Kirkland knockout, or was it James Kirkland knockout? Feinting the jab to the body, feinting the shot, come with a right hand. That's literally what he did with Tyron Woodley in the rematch. So they're the kind of little keys to victory, I think, for both guys. Ultimately, I got to give a pick on this fight. I've said this once, I'll say it again. I'm looking forward to this fight. I think it's going to be a great fight. I've no issue with it. I think that anyone who has an issue like that, just don't watch it. Simple as, just don't watch it. I like it. I want to be entertained. I think I'm going to be entertained in this fight. And I think we'll see a knockout. I really do. And I think we are going to see Jake Paul knock Tommy Fury out. Because one thing I didn't talk about is the pressure on Tommy Fury. And there is pressure. There's probably more pressure on Tommy Fury than there is on Jake Paul. Because Tommy Fury is the boxer. He's the guy from the boxing family. He turned pro before Jake Paul had even started doing pro boxing. So there is a lot of pressure on Tommy Fury. There is. You hear Tyson say it. You hear John say it. Shane say it. And I think with Tommy, I mean, you know, he doesn't... I remember going for a bit of food without match when I was over in London. And he said it best. He said, Tommy doesn't have the fury. And he doesn't. And I think he's desperately trying to prove that he does. And I think that's putting more pressure on him. And Tyson is the sort of fighter, his brother Tyson, is the sort of fighter where he thrives on pressure. You've seen that with Tyson Fury in the past. He thrives on that. In fact, when he doesn't have the pressure, you'll often see lackluster performances like against Otto Wallin. When he's not feeling an innate danger, when he's not feeling, you know, it's all on him and everyone is expecting this guy to win, etc. When he's gone into the lines then like he did against Klitschko, when he's put pressure on himself by saying, you're no good, you're useless, you're a bum, you're a dosser, he's put pressure on himself and he's risen to the occasion. That's Tyson Fury. Tommy, I don't think, is cut from the same cloth. I really don't. I think with Tommy, the pressure is actually a detriment to him. I think he needs to be just calm in the corner. You're not going to get that with John Fury, but just calm in the corner, as calm as can be. And, you know, really, I know they're not on good terms these days, but Peter Fury, if he was in the corner for Tommy, oh, that could be a game changer. Because Peter is the calm and influence you need, whereas John Fury isn't, to say the least. So, and you've heard it, like, remember the press conference they did last year, where John Fury, and it was obviously Jake Paul was doing the visual press conference, and John Fury was saying all these things Tommy is going to do, and he's just kind of sat there like, yeah, I'm going to do all these things, and I'm brilliant. You know, Tyson Fury wouldn't need John to say that. He'd just say it, I'm going to do it, and yeah, my dad knows. Whereas Tommy is just kind of like, oh yeah, that's me, yeah, I'm going to do all that. I wonder how he's going to cope with the pressure. I don't think he'll cope too well, personally. He doesn't seem to be cut from the same cloth as Tyson. He really doesn't. So, we shall wait and see. My pick for this fight, it's an 8-rounder, isn't it? I think it's an 8-rounder. I'm not going to go for first or second round. I'm going to go between rounds 3 to 6. Between those rounds, we're going to see Jake Paul knock Tommy Fury out. That's what I think is going to happen. Between those rounds, we're going to see Jake Paul knock Tommy Fury out. And I think it might be a clean knockout as well. I think it might be a clean one. And if that does happen, I mean, if I was Jake Paul, I'd be getting out of that ring pretty quick, because John Fury, he ain't going to be happy. We know what he's like. I will be getting out of Dodge quick, because God knows what he might do. But I think Jake Paul will win. That's my pick. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Of course, as I said already, we're doing a live watch along. We got to do it. It's on a Sunday, which I'm happy with, because it was actually, my friend was looking for me to go out Saturday night, and I said, look, I can't. I've got to watch this fight. But now it's not. So I'll go out Saturday with my friend for a bit, which is good. So let me know your thoughts on this fight. Leave it in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button as always if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Thank you as always to the Hair Company for sponsoring this video. And lads and lasses, I'll talk to you. Peace.